Hey everybody, this is Perch, and it's time to check back in on kind of the overall state of comics and how these controversies are battering and demolishing comics as we know it. They're being replaced by everything. If I can take you back to a few short months ago, we had the debut of Nubia, the real one, which was a original graphic novel coming out from DC. And if you remember at the time, it was hailed as the book that was the downfall of Western civilization. In fact, as I'm reading this quote here, this is the comic that DC is turning into. This is the brainwashing of children. This is the destruction of the U.S. comic market. Definitely a very serious book that was going to be pushed hardcore by DC and was going to kind of really demolish traditional comics and get rid of all those problematic creators, replace it with this kind of storytelling. That was what was happening. The culture war was upon us, and we were losing. We were all losing with titles like this. So. Of course, Nubia has been out now for a few months, and how exactly is it doing? Well, as we look at the Amazon top graphic novels, again, a lot of people very concerned about this book, concerned about how it was going to be the change of direction for everything DC was going to do, how it was going to just kind of alter everything that we knew it. So as we look at the top 100 DC graphic novels on Amazon, it's not there. Actually, remarkably, as I scroll down, Nubia does not appear. The real one title has fallen off. It's also not listed on the school books, and this was a year where books in schools and libraries were massive. They were bigger than ever before, largely because of the pandemic, schools shutting down. There was more spend and more action going for these titles than we've seen in quite some time. So where is Nubia exactly on the Amazon bestseller list? Well, it's unfortunately it's impossible to say because you actually can't get past the top 100 list. So it's not there. So unfortunately, we don't exactly know. If we look at the book Nubia Real One, again released this February, as the book that was going to definitely demolish all Western civilization, it's currently ranked at number 81,374 in books. And if you actually get to teen and young adult fiction about prejudice and racism, it is number 150. So that's where we are. If you get to a very specific young adult coming of age comics and graphic novels, it's actually number 31. So there it's doing quite well. Well, who is actually doing better? Who is taking these top spots away from a book like Nubia? Who are all these woke creators who are being pushed on us? Well. As we can tell, Jeff Johns owns most of the many books on the top 5. He's got 3 Jokers. He's got Batman Earth 1. He has Blackest Night and a couple other items here on the bestseller list. Jeff Johns, who of course has been canceled as a result of Ray Fisher and his allegations in the movie. Clearly, Jeff Johns is being impacted here. And we see other creators like Mark Millar, certainly plenty of comments about him. Bill Willingham, man, he is definitely being canceled. Articles in the Beat talking about how we have to have a conversation. It's not 2007 anymore. We really got to get on Bill Willingham. It looks like he's got some books up here in the top, certainly in the top 20. Here's Fables on here. We have a couple different compendiums with Fables doing quite well. So there's that. We have look, here's John Byrne. As we've heard from Gleb Melikov that John Byrne, the guy whose art style is irrelevant and so dated, and if you drew like him, DC would fire you. Looks like he's got several books here in the top 50. John Byrne seemingly doing extremely well. We've got some things by Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder of course, has had a few things tossed his way, and oh my God, here's Chuck Dixon. Chuck Dixon, the guy who's completely been run out by DC. Looks like he's got some books here. Here's Frank Miller. Here's Sean Gordon Murphy. Oh, look, here's Warren Ellis. We got multiple Warren Ellis books up here. There's Grant Morrison. Certainly, here's Alan Moore. Well, it's a shocking list. Oh, here's the DC book. Here's our friend Tom Krajewski here with Primer number 5. There's that book. As you look at this list, hey, Stefan Sajak with Harleen. I'm sure I'm butchering that name. That's doing really well here, number 12 on the bestseller list. Here's Jeff Loeb, who for whatever reason, people have forgotten about what he did to the Ultimate Universe over in Marvel, and Dark Victory and Long Halloween. We got a couple books here. Here's Paul Dini, who's also had some accusations hurled his way. It's amazing. All these definitely canceled people seem to be selling books. It's very bizarre. It's very bizarre. I'm actually quite amazed how many, like if Jeff Johns and John Byrne have just a remarkable amount of comics on here. But anyway, what does all this tell us? Well, you can take a number of different lessons from this, certainly in how all this goes. But here's Katana Collins. Katana Collins, who did the Harley Quinn series. That hardcover hanging out here that's just past the top 50 right now. Again, here's Jim Starlin and lots of creators on here. Okay. Garth Ennis. I always love a good Garth Ennis book. What does this tell us? Well, I think in my mind, it tells us a couple things. There is a lot of noise that starts to kind of come up and fight for our attention around what's happening to characters, what kind of recreation is taking place, what kind of rebranding of characters, and all these different takes, right? And it gets a lot of people's attention. It gets a lot of people anxious. It gets a lot of people worried. It gets a lot of people outraged. And there's a lot of fighting and comments and everything else. But at the end of the day, when you look at the top 50 or top 100, what you see is probably exactly what you would expect to see. You see the very classic stories still selling the highest. Here's Watchmen. Here's Batman Earth 1. Here's Batman 3 Jokers. As I mentioned, here's Primer. Here's Deceased, has done very well. Tom Taylor has several things on this book. Here's Metal. Here's The Long Halloween. Here's The Dark Knight Returns, The Killing Joke. You remember The Killing Joke, that super problematic, really uncomfortable book that we needed to get rid of? Here it is at number 15, just kind of hanging in there. And no matter what kind of noise Twitter makes, the sales facts are right here. A lot of articles being written by Bill Willingham right now. He owns multiple books here on this top 25 list. It's doing fine. The books are good. Are people trying to cancel him? I mean, sure, the articles are being written. Do they matter? Doesn't seem so. This is the thing. Out of all this noise, all this sound and fury, all this desperate need to kind of police, this desperate desire to kind of tell you that a lot of these efforts are making an impact, they're not. You look at the sellers, they are the same things. Meanwhile, Nubia Real One, according to the Amazon book scan and what's being sold, is selling about 60 copies a month. Worldwide. 60 copies. That's it. For what it's worth, Primer is selling more of that a day. And Watchmen has been selling more of that seemingly a day for a decade. There's certainly attempts to get rid of people. I've heard plenty about how DC has run Chuck Dixon out, and everybody's embarrassed about Chuck Dixon, except when it comes to cashing the checks, Chuck Dixon has books on this list. They are selling for all the anxiety and anger and everything else, for all the different audio streams and blogs and news reports and anxious articles. Books are selling. They're getting into people's hands. People are paying DC. Royalties are being paid, to these guys too. It's sales are sales. For all the comments about old John Byrne being old-fashioned and dumb and problematic and mean and all those kinds of things, he's got, on the top 100, he's got close to 10 books. Close to 10% of this stuff is John Byrne. It's doing fine. For DC, by the way. This is not including Marvel even. So what do you make of this? Well, the biggest thing to make of this is relax a little bit. And I've said this a lot in videos, and people like to come in and tell me, you can't relax. Don't you realize we're in the midst of a desperate fight for the soul of the country and for entertainment and everything else? But I mean, here's a crazy thing. Entertainment seems to be getting into the hands of people. I mean, certainly they're buying it. The sales numbers don't lie. The stuff is being consumed. It's being sold. It's being bought. All of the stuff that we get really anxious about, it tends to vanish. It tends to vanish off the top 100 list. Again, how many videos did you see? And I'm sure you saw plenty about Nubia. I didn't care for Nubia. I said that, the biggest problem with that book is you're trying to sell it to kids and a school audience, and you got a freaking school shooting in this book. That's going to be a market problem. And sure enough, it seems to be a market problem. If you look at the reviews for the book, you see parents like, I wouldn't really recommend this. It deals with, it certainly deals with racism, and we want to teach lessons about racism, but it also has a school shooting. You're like, hey, don't give this to your kids. Yeah, that's how it tends to go. It's, for how many problematic takes, problematic blogs, problematic tweets have we seen from people talking about how the Killing Joke is just it's wrong. We can't have it. Well, it's a terrible, bad piece of work, and yet here it is in the top 10. It puts it a little bit in perspective, and I think if it's worth anything, sure, you can be angry about whatever you want. You can be anxious. You can be pissed. You can go to war, but at the end of the day, sales are sales. And if you look at the sales on here, it tells a very consistent picture. All the people that, were getting canceled, the people were coming after, all the bad people, all this stuff. I mean, Ray Fisher has posted how many times now about Jeff Johns? Got to get rid of that guy. How many people have jumped to kind of like, we got to defend Jeff Johns because look what's that. Jeff Johns, meanwhile, owns the sales list. For what it's worth, as it turns out, it seems like people just want to read good comics. I know all the noise is fine, but at the end of the day, people who have money seem to want to just put their heads down and buy things that they're going to enjoy and read comics they're going to enjoy, and that seems to be the lesson. So, congratulations to the people on the top 100 list who, I hope, are getting their royalty checks, and stuff is continuing as normal. And certainly go out there, protect the creators you like, and stand up for people who you feel like, but also remember, there's stuff selling. In that sense, if your goal is to read good comics and just kind of enjoy things and hope that some of these books, regardless of whatever is said on social media, that the books are still making their way through and being sold, congratulations, you've won. Victory, smile, raise a glass. Things are okay. From this perspective, things are okay. Sales do count for something, and at the end of the day, this sales list tells a lot. Go check out Amazon, look for yourself. For everything else, this is what people are buying. Thanks for listening.